Every story appears ordinary until you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is a story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News, reaching you live from our Lagos studios. I am Oluyemisi Olubi, and first, the major news we're tracking at this hour. Thanks for joining us. Nigerians have been reviewing the performance by President Muhammadu Buhari after about 11 months of being in office. A team of panelists, while speaking at an event organized by the Change Vigilantes to access issues bordering on economy, power, unemployment, security, and sundry matters, said the Buhari-led administration is not doing badly. Our correspondent Akin Obakeye has more.
The Nigerian general election of 2015 is the fifth quadrennial election to be held since the end of military rule in 1999. The same election recorded in history an incumbent president losing the re-election. Suffice to say that the 2015 election is the most expensive election ever to be held in the African continent so far. During his campaign, President Buhari's promised change caught the attention of Nigerians. Change in the economy, governance, human capacity, security, unemployment, the list goes on. However, different gatherings have had to appraise how the present government is faring. One of such is a town hall meeting of concerned Nigerians under the umbrella of the Change Vigilantes.
This is a government that has given direction, a government that has shown purposefulness, that has made integrity our watchword, a government that has shown promise, and a president that has shown a political will.
And before June last year, you have spent off everything and you have borrowed into your next year. Were you expecting to get money to begin to pay contractors? Now that he's beginning to recover some money, there is hope. Foundation is being laid.
I saw your assessment, the promises there. Yes. And not a single one has been fulfilled. Everyone here will agree. Not one is in the works to be fulfilled. There is no hope that any is going to be fulfilled at all.
The issue about the government, for me, the government of Buhari is where I would like to see Nigeria at this time. Coming from where we are coming from. Now, if we where we are going, he's not yet there.
Inasmuch as the forum appreciates that President Buhari's administration is striving to bring the needed change, they hope that more will be done to disseminate information more adequately so as to carry Nigerians along this change process. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
And still on the presidency, President Muhammadu Buhari has called on parents to accord the girl child equal access to education as their male counterparts as ways of reducing the illiteracy level in the country. The president made the plea at the public presentation of the book titled The Essentials of Beauty Therapy, authored by his wife, Aisha Buhari. And now the Ekiti State Governor, Ayodele Fayose, has written to the Chinese government seeking the stoppage of the $2 billion loan being sought by the federal government. President Muhammadu Buhari's visit to China this week was to discuss the development of the country's infrastructure, including a $2 billion loan for railway projects. But Fayose, in his letter to President Xi Jinping of China, says Nigerians are totally opposed to increment of the country's debt burden, which is already being serviced with 25% of the federal government's annual budget. The governor further stated in his letter that some of the projects for which the loan was being sought were not captured in the 2016 budget. And now to matters of politics. As part of the reforms by the People's Democratic Party to reposition for the next elections, the party says the election of its presidential candidate and others into elective office would be done from the ward level and not at a one-fell-swoop national convention. The National Publicity Secretary of the party, Olisa Metu, who disclosed this when he received the former chairman of the National Patriotic Party of Ghana, Peter McMahon, at the party's national secretariat, said the elections will be done through open ballot systems. Chairman of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, Issei Sage, and human rights lawyer Femi Falana have condemned the move by the Senate to amend this law setting up the Code of Conduct Bureau and the Code of Conduct Tribunal with a view to whittling down the agency's powers. The senior advocates of Nigeria say the commencement of the amendment of the Act establishing the CCB and the CCT by the Senate had exposed the intention of the country's legislators to encourage corrupt practices and shield corrupt leaders from prosecution. The Senate had on Thursday passed for the second reading a bill to amend the CCB and Tribunal Act barely 48 hours after its presentation by the sponsor, Senator Peter Nwauboshi of the People's Democratic Party representing Delta North, on the floor of the upper chamber. It has also set Tuesday next week to begin deliberation on another bill meant to amend the Administration of Criminal Justice Act that will remove the power of the CCT to try criminal cases. Now, the United States have released yet another damning report on Nigeria, accusing the government at all levels of injustice, brutality, and inflicting pain on poor Nigerians. The report, as released by the U.S. Department of State, accuses the Nigerian police, the DSS, and the military of gross abuse of power, including citizens' brutality, arbitrary detention, and bribery, among other scandals. The report also reveals that 69% of persons in prisons across the country are awaiting trial, blaming the situation on lack of judicial capacity and corruption. While acknowledging that the insurgency in the northeast has rendered many homeless, the United States blamed the terror Islamic sect Boko Haram for committing a pogrom in which more than 20,000 people have been killed and maimed with permanent injuries. It points out that in response to Boko Haram's violent attacks and at times to crime and insecurity in general, security services perpetrated extrajudicial killings and engaged in torture, rape, arbitrary detention, mistreatment of detainees, and destruction of property. The report also claims impunity remains widespread at all levels of government, even though President Buhari's administration began with initial steps to curb corruption. The Nigerian authorities do not investigate or punish the majority of cases of police or military abuse. The Federal High Court in Abuja has dismissed another legal action instituted by the Senate President Bukola Saraki, which seeks to stop his trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal over an alleged false asset declaration. Justice Abdul Kadiri Kafarati dismissed the case on the grounds that Saraki's fear that he will not get justice at the CCT was speculative, misplaced, and has no place in law. And on to matters concerning the Nigerian budget. Now, the International Monetary Fund has waded into the impasse between the executive arm of government and the National Assembly over the 2016 budget, advising the Nigerian government to resolve the issues surrounding it and have it assented to. The IMF also renews its call for the Central Bank of Nigeria to implement a flexible foreign exchange regime. IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde, who spoke at the opening press briefing of the fund at the 2016 spring meetings of the IMF World Bank, says that the implementation can be done. And now the Senate Committee on Finance has asked the Federal Inland Revenue Service to explain the rationale behind its decision to appropriate 16 billion naira in its 2016 budget for the 1,250 staff it planned to recruit this year, while expressing concerns over the agency's 750 million naira budget for medical bills to staff. The Senate asked the agency to produce details of the 1.6 billion naira appropriated in its budget for its retired staff. In response, the FIRS told the panel that the 1.6 billion naira in its fiscal document this year was meant for its staff who retired last year and those due for retirement this year. The FIRS boss, however, explains that any amount approved but which was not expended will be returned to the government's treasury. As the budget showdown between the presidency and the National Assembly rages on, the House of Representatives Committee on Anti-Corruption has refuted reports that the National Assembly padded the 2016 budget estimate of the Code of Conduct Bureau. The committee chairman says reports of the National Assembly's padding CCB's budget by over 4 billion naira were gross falsehood and total mischief by those who never meant well for Nigeria. The legislator, while shedding light on the issue, reveals that his committee only rearranged the order and priority of the Code of Conduct Bureau, which was at the request of the organization. Akinloye remarked CCB had, during the budget defense, informed the committee that the working environment for its staff was not conducive, as it has 5 different offices scattered around Abuja, and this is an impediment towards optimizing its operations as well as efficiency. He further added that the CCB had, after the 2015 budget, returned over 230 million naira to government coffers, which was earmarked for the building of its head office, which would have made its operations seamless. And now on to matters of insurgency. In order to curb insurgency, the Kwara State government is proposing a 14-year jail term for convicted cultists in the state. Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Kamaldeen Ajibade says the bill has passed second reading in the State Assembly, noting that no effort will be spared to eradicate cultism. According to the Commissioner, the least of 10 years jail term and highest of 14 years jail term have been prescribed for anyone found guilty of cultism in the state. He explains that the bill contains, among others, confiscation of building and property harboring such convicted cultists by the state government. The UK Minister for International Development, Nick Hurd, who is in Nigeria for official engagements, has announced that the British government will give a further £32 million over the next 3 years to help deliver basic life-saving assistance and protection to some of the estimated 7 million people in need of humanitarian assistance due to the conflict in northeast Nigeria. The funds will be channeled through the United Nations, the International Committee for the Red Cross, and other humanitarian organizations, and will be used to provide support for critical life-saving areas, including nutrition, food security, water and sanitation, and protection of lives affected by the conflict. Apart from the clash, the United Kingdom will also provide the needed technical expertise to Nigeria to drive the programs and ensure maximum benefit for its people. The Board of Trustees, acting chairman of the Association of Local Government of Nigeria, Odunayo Ategbero, says the federal government is tampering with local government allocations to pay back the London buyback debt. The association has been meeting in Abuja to iron out areas of differences relating to the deductions that it claims have been made on their allocations. And now we'll go on a short break. Do join us again.
VAT, Value Added Tax, is a tax paid on all goods and services and remitted by the seller of the goods or provider of the service to government. 5% VAT is added to the total cost of goods and services in Nigeria, and when remitted to government, is used for funding development. The VAT you pay will be used by government to develop our transport infrastructure like roads and railway lines, to continually improve our educational sector by building more schools and upgrading existing ones, to provide adequate security and a better quality of life for us all. Pay your VAT. Make your contributions to the development of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Thanks for joining us again. And here's a recap of the news we're tracking at this hour. Welcome back. But if you're just joining us, you're on CoreTV Primetime News. To get more updates on our news stories, please visit our social media platforms. On Facebook, we have facebook.com/CoreTV News. You can also check out our Twitter handle at CoreTV News NG. Or you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/CoreTV News. And on to matters of agriculture now, the Senate is seeking the establishment of an Institute of Soil Science to help curb some of the devastation caused as a result of inadequate information about soil texture. The bill, among other things, is saying that the country needs a regulatory body that should provide a check for areas where there are bound to be defects in the environment and manage it properly.
On petitions,
the concern of the Senate is that there is nobody charged with the responsibility of checking degradation of the soil and its effect on the entire environment sphere. The sponsor is emphasizing that even food production may be in trouble if not checked.
Unfortunately, Mr. President, the capacity of available resources and technologies to satisfy the required food and other agricultural output of this growing population remains uncertain.
A bill that is welcome indeed by the chamber. Members are calling for support, also highlighting areas of general benefit that the bill will be encouraging if brought into law.
So I would like to enjoin my colleagues to support this straightforward bill so as to enhance the productivity of our soils in this country.
It will guide our farmers properly. Research from this institute will be disseminated to the farmers, and it will increase the fertility of the soil, and agricultural production will continue to increase.
Surprised that only one school offers a course related to soil science, other members speak on the need for the bill as it will help curb natural hazards. Therefore, the need for a regulatory body is essential.
I think these two reasons, I think they are viable enough for us to think that it is very necessary for us now, at this point in time, to have an Institute of Soil Science so that we'll be able to have a proper documentation of the effects of the different types that we have in our environment.
Deputy President of the Senate, who is presiding over plenary, agrees that the bill is long overdue.
But I think this is one professional body we need to encourage, especially with the great challenges we're having today in areas of erosion, desertification, and decrease in productivity of our farmlands.
To be returned in 4 weeks, the bill is being sent to the Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development for further legislative input. Jamila Fegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
And now we take you to Kwara State, where the state government has commenced the verification exercise to determine the actual figure of workers, teachers, local government staff, and pensioners on its payroll. The biometric exercise, which is expected to cover the 16 local governments of the state, involved the presentation of school credentials and letter of appointments, among others, as part of efforts of the Kwara State government to ensure that accountability and prudence is observed in its spending. It embarks on biometric exercise to determine the actual number of workers and pensioners on its monthly payroll. The premises of the Ilorin West local government, which is the first venue for the exercise, was filled with workers of all grades trying to comply with the directive, as the governor had earlier warned that those who abstain should consider themselves ghost workers. Operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, have discovered 193 wraps of cocaine inside a passenger's socks. The drug, which tested positive for cocaine with a total weight of 3.5 kilograms, was detected during routine screening of passengers on an Emirates flight from Dubai. The suspect, who is a commercial bus driver in Lagos, has also been arrested. Chief Executive of the agency, Mohammed Mustafa Abdullah, has called for stringent monitoring of Dubai-Lagos route by officers. NDLEA commander at the airport, Amadu Garba, gave the name of the suspect as Madwe Wesi Ugochukwu Samuel. During the screening of passengers at the arrival hall, officers noticed that he had some items attached to his legs. Now to matters of trade. The international trade facilitators are complaining about the level of informal movement of export items across Nigerian borders to neighboring African countries. They are calling on exporters to perfect their documentation processes in order to enable the government to keep track of its economic activities. Akin Obakeye has more.
Sight and sound of the popular Okeari market in Lagos. Recent clamor for Nigerians to use more of goods and services produced locally have been met with various arguments, even as the fall in naira against the dollar continues to impact on the prices of goods across the markets.
Things are hard. There is no fuel. Goods are expensive. We haven't made much sales since morning. Prices change every time we make purchases. That would be better. If they will ban imported goods and promote made in Nigeria items, we will gladly sell it. Manufacturers should produce items of good quality, better than the foreign ones.
However, some traders say they cannot compromise quality, hence their continual patronage for imported goods.
To make all these things in Nigeria, they will kill it now. They kill everything. No need of making it in Nigeria. The chivita they made in Nigeria here, nobody is buying it. We are buying imported something. Nobody is buying chivita again. Too much sugar. They write no sugar, but when you drink it, you find out that a lot of sugar is there, thereby causing people diabetes and other things.
Whichever the divide, policies formulated to promote local content patronage will in the long run determine consumers' love for either imported or made in Nigeria goods. Akin Obakeye, CoreTV News, Lagos.
And still in the business world, businessmen and women have been expressing diverse opinions on trading in imported and made in Nigeria goods, while some express low quality as responsible for the patronage of foreign goods. Others believe that until Nigerians consume more of indigenous items, the nation's economy will not improve. Our correspondent has more. We'll bring you that report in our subsequent bulletin. Now, media practitioners have been urged to use their influence and reach to enhance the image of Nigeria and to present the right perspective to issues happening in the country, with a view to attracting the respect of visitors and admiration of citizens. Victoria Solomon files in this report presented from our studios.
Nigeria is a country many would love to visit in a bid to experience its people, see interesting locations, interact with diverse cultures, and explore economic opportunities. Tourists are, however, often skeptical due to negative perceptions. Stories about Nigeria, written largely by Nigerian media, to a great extent influence what foreigners think of the country. On the long run, the nation's image is a product of the impressions created by certain people. A public affairs commentator believes that Nigeria needs a global media appeal in telling its stories.
Don't have, and it's a shame, and I've been writing about this, the continent doesn't have a truly global brand.
He further says the media cannot stand alone but needs the help of the private sector as well as the government.
And the media cannot do it alone. It has to be a collaboration, private sector, government, and, build a truly global brand.
The media industry is also admonished to project Nigeria's positive image beyond its failings.
Nigerian media especially, to sell the right stories. The dividend will be enjoyed by all of us, because that means there'll be more money, more professionalism, better healthcare, better roads, and a better quality of life for everybody. So the media has a duty to ensure that they keep on pushing the positive side of Nigeria, not the negative. It's not bad to report the negative, but focus on the positive.
It is hoped that the media can find a balance between reporting issues as they do and portraying the nation in a good light to the appreciation of those at home and abroad.
Experts are urging Nigerian youths to see the importance of the internet and explore its usefulness. They say that if rightly channeled, the digital world can create immense opportunities for many people. Victoria Solomon files in this report.
Unemployment is one major problem President Buhari's administration intends to combat. But 11 months after assuming duties, even graduates still grapple to reel this dividend of democracy.
The government has a role to play because we have more graduates, or we have more unemployment than the jobs that they have to offer. So you see people going to school, and after suffering and everything, you come out from school, there are no jobs.
Majorly, the Nigerian educational sector. I think that the educational sector in Nigeria needs to do more to ensure that when people graduate, they are ready for the workplace.
The private sector is not leaving all to the government to find means of gainfully engaging Nigerians.
Instill in the consciousness, of young people the importance of information communication technologies in the 21st century.
Certification also come in handy, in addition to entrepreneurial skills.
Skill is more important presently, because even those that have certification, there are no ready-made job available.
Over 50 CVs submitted at this one event. This shows that Nigerian youth are eager to get jobs in their various disciplines. Still, the responsibility lies with every young person to get certified and have skills in their various disciplines. Sarah Ayeku, CoreTV News, Lagos.
The federal government says Nigeria cannot afford to miss the June 2017 deadline for the digitization of broadcast signals in the country. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria, who are critical stakeholders in the industry, will be involved every step of the way. Correspondent Kazim Kasali has more on the consultative meeting between the Minister of Information and Culture and the broadcasting organizations of Nigeria.
I've called you today because
the deadline for the digitization of broadcast signals in Nigeria, according to the Minister of Information and Culture, is one the country can no longer afford to miss after failing to meet two earlier deadlines.
As you all know, we have a deadline of June 2017, which is just a little more than a year from now to achieve the digital switchover, or DSO.
He says critical stakeholders like BON will be carried along to ensure the success of the pilot scheme from the 30th of this month in Jos, Plateau State. He says the ministerial task force on the process will be expanded after the takeoff of the pilot scheme.
This will have a profound effect on your operations. Hence, you must be prepared, you must be consulted, and you must be carried along.
Earlier, Chairman of BON says the meeting is a platform for the ministry and BON to have a meeting of minds on a very critical issue for the industry. Kazim Kasali, CoreTV News, Abuja.
We'll go on a short break now, and when we get back, we'll bring you news from outside Nigeria and the world of sports.
With over 7 billion of world population and still counting,
The world needs to hear you now than ever. Whatever your ministry or vision is, Gospel Africa will help get you there faster than you think possible. For inquiries and participation, contact 009 503 3859 or 0812 076 0011 or visit www.gospelafricang.com. Gospel Africa, your #1 media solutions for the church today. Gospel Africa, showing on this station at this time. CoreTV News now live on all Androids.
Welcome to CoreTV Primetime News.
Download CoreTV News app from your Play Store. Click on the menu to see all our top stories from politics, sports, business, foreign news and live TV to watch us live on your mobile.
I want to know why I should be believing them.
You can also click on video to see all our YouTube videos. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
And we start by taking you to Afghanistan, where at least 40 Taliban fighters have died following the launch of an offensive against Afghan security forces to seize the strategic northern city of Kunduz. Fighting broke out in 6 districts in Kunduz province, a crucial northern stronghold close to the Tajikistan border, as well as around the provincial capital, which the Taliban captured and held for several days last year. General Mohammad Qasim Jangarbag, the Kunduz provincial police chief, told newsmen that apart from the 40 Taliban fighters who died, 8 others were also wounded. The offensive around Kunduz began only days after the armed group announced its annual spring offensive, vowing to launch large-scale attacks using suicide bombers and guerrilla fighters to drive the Western forces back. And now we'll take you to England, where the police have arrested 5 terror suspects in a joint investigation involving UK intelligence and French and Belgian authorities. The suspects, comprising 4 men ranging in age from 26 to 59 and a 29-year-old woman, were arrested on suspicion of being involved in the commission, preparation or instigation of terrorist acts. The arrest follows revelations that Mohamed Abrini, who investigators say has been linked to the terror march attacks in Brussels and the November 2015 attack in Paris, had traveled to Birmingham several times in the year before the Paris attacks. Abrini is known as the man in the hat in surveillance video taking of bombers in the Brussels airport attack. His DNA and fingerprints were lifted from a vehicle used in the Paris attacks, and surveillance video spotted him with Paris attack suspect Salah Abdulsalam at a gas station between Brussels and the French capital. Abrini was arrested on the 8th of April in Belgium. And I will take you to Japan, where a magnitude 7.4 earthquake has hit the southern part of the country, the second powerful trembler in less than 24 hours, with reports of people being trapped in fallen buildings and houses. The quake struck Kumamoto region at a depth of 40 kilometers, shaking the region as a series of aftershocks followed on the southern island of Kyushu. It is the second major tremor to rock Japan's south in 24 hours, after a 6.2 quake hit near Mashiki town on Thursday, killing 9 people and injuring about 1,000 others. And I will take you to Belgium, where the Belgian transport minister has resigned over accusations she ignored lapses in security at Brussels airport before the attacks of the 22nd of March. A confidential document shows security lapses at Belgium's airports were identified by EU inspectors in 2015. Minister Jacqueline Gallant had denied having seen the report, which was leaked by opposition parties. Attacks on Zaventem Airport and a Brussels metro station by so-called Islamic State left 32 people dead. Prime Minister Charles Michel had previously defended Gallant, and he had told Parliament that her office had not seen the critical EU report. And we take you to Brazil, where the Supreme Court has rejected a government injunction aimed at preventing an impeachment of vote against President Dilma Rousseff. Rousseff, who alleges her opponents are plotting a coup, faces claims she manipulated government accounts. Meanwhile, she has vowed to fight to the last minute, despite the desertion of 3 allied parties ahead of Sunday's impeachment vote in the lower house of parliament. An impeachment vote would pave the way for Rousseff to be removed from office. The injunction to suspend the vote was filed by Attorney General Jose Eduardo Cardoso, who claimed that alleged procedural failings had violated the president's right to a defense. However, 7 of 10 justices voted to reject the motion even before the Supreme Court session had finished. And in the world of sports, the semi-final pairing for Europe's top football competition, the UEFA Champions League, has been released. Manchester City have been drawn against Real Madrid, while Atletico Madrid will meet Bayern Munich in the other semi-final. The draw means City, soon to be managed by Pep Guardiola next season, could meet the Spaniard's current club, Bayern, in the final. The first leg of the games will be played on the 26th and 27th of April, with the return legs played on the 3rd and 4th of May, while the final takes place at Milan's San Siro Stadium on the 28th of May. An employment tribunal has found out that Newcastle midfielder Jonas Guterres was dropped by the club because of his cancer diagnosis. The 32-year-old is suing the Magpies for about £2 million on grounds of disability discrimination. The tribunal also rules that the club made it impossible for Guterres to trigger an appearance-based contract extension. However, Newcastle Football Club say they are dismayed by the judgment and are considering further options with their legal team. A further remedy hearing will be held in due course, in which compensation will be addressed. And still in England, Tottenham Hotspur manager Mauricio Pochettino has urged for trust to be placed in match officials after Leicester City fan Kevin Friend was replaced as the referee for Spurs Premier League clash with Stoke City on Monday. Neil Swarbrick will referee the fixture as second-place Spurs, who are chasing a First League title since 1961, look to close the 7-point gap on leaders Leicester City with 5 games left. Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger had said the Premier League was setting a dangerous precedent by replacing the referee, and Pochettino agreed with his North London counterpart. And now to matters concerning FIFA. Former FIFA president Sepp Blatter told sportsmen that he is available to appear as a witness at a United States trial into mass corruption in world football. U.S. prosecutors were hoping the hearing of 39 officials and marketing executives accused of soliciting and receiving tens of millions of dollars in bribes and kickbacks would begin in February 2017. But on Thursday, the U.S. judge overseeing the corruption scandal postponed setting a trial date until after prosecutors shared the bulk of evidence being collated in the massive investigation. Blatter, with suspended European football chief Michel Platini, was banned from all football activities for 8 years in December over an infamous 2 million Swiss franc payment that Platini received in 2011 from the then FIFA president. Meanwhile, the suspensions were cut to 6 years in February 2016. And that's all we have for you on CoreTV Primetime News. But before we go, here's a recap of our major stories. And on that note, we drop the anchor tonight. Do join us at 12 a.m. for more updates. I am Oluyemisi Olubi. Thank you for joining us.